those territories. Clearly, the Israeli-Palestinian problem must be solved, but it must be solved on its own terms. Clearly, the situation in Iraq must be resolved the sooner the better. But to suggest that policies towards those areas will help deter and halt terrorism in Western Europe is just fanciful thinking.
The shift from insurgents killing imperialist soldiers to insurgents killing mostly Iraqis hasn't suited the apologists for terror. The demonstrations were thinning out. The justifications were becoming less plausible. Then Hezbollah crossed the Lebanese border amid a barrage of rockets, killed several Israeli soldiers and kidnapped 2 more. Next thing you know, the Zionist demon was back.
Increasingly, what has become the sort of sewage of the fringes of the far right and far left political discourse concerning Israel have now become increasingly have contaminated mainstream political discourse to the point that major newspapers and major political figures very much in the center are happy to indulge in the full-scale portrayal of Israel as a demonic entity. It's of mythic proportions. So no matter what Israel does, it is treated as the embodiment of malice, evil, child murder, and bloodletting, often without relationship to the facts.
The war in the Lebanon was an apologist's indignant fantasy. The pictures were of Israeli jets and missiles hammering into Lebanese apartment blocks and villages, with the cameras training on those images and places that Hezbollah media guides permitted to be filmed. While Hezbollah fired rockets from hospital car parks and behind schools, Israel was slammed for disproportionate action, even though its forces at least attempted to distinguish between civilian and fighter. Intentionality, however, was deemed to be unimportant. So was the issue of how this conflict began. Once again, it was just bad Zionists against good Muslims.
One of the things that's happened is the prism through which the left has tried to understand the phenomena of Islamism and Islamist terrorism has been the prism of resistance to imperialism. So we might not agree with every dot and comma of what they do, and we might have our criticisms. Nonetheless, comrade, fundamentally, we have to side with the objectively progressive forces. And that has led them into the most terrible alliances and caused them to, for instance, the banners that appeared on the recent demonstration, "We are all Hezbollah now."
So who did the left think Hezbollah were? A kind of Muslim welfare sans frontières? Freedom fighters willing to give up their lives to help their Palestinian brothers? Or a reactionary religious private army preaching hatred of Jews and destruction of the state of Israel, subjugating its women, militarizing its children, and taking orders from paymasters in Tehran and Damascus?
I came here to extend my congratulations to the Lebanese people on a great and historic victory. And in particular, I want to congratulate the Lebanese resistance and their leading edge, Hezbollah, whose martyrs and whose heroes have achieved this great victory, and in particular to their leader, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, whose name now rings in joy around the whole world.
George Galloway got up and said that he wanted to glorify Nasrallah, the head of Hezbollah, which is an anti-Semitic communal organization, deeply anti-Semitic, that has spent 5-6 weeks this summer lobbing rockets onto Haifa and Tel Aviv. And you've got the British left glorifying its leader.
It ought to be baffling, but somehow it isn't. Loathing of the Prime Minister, hatred of the Americans, and a lack of leadership on the left is allowing too many supposed radicals to end up in bed with the worst forces of reaction and not with the oppressed or with Democrats.
هل يهود الأمس يحملون جرائم يهود الماضي؟ الأصل أنهم يحملون جرائمهم.
You are truly welcome. Welcome to London, a city of all cultures.
You get Ken Livingstone embracing a misogynist, anti-Semitic, homophobic cleric in London. You get John Pilger, fantastic journalist, who when asked, do we have to support the resistance in Iraq? His answer is, we can't be choosy. You get someone like Michael Moore, who's everyone's watching his films and reading his books and so on. Michael Moore's an idiot. And it would be a very healthy political culture if we could start saying things like, Michael Moore's an idiot. Michael Moore writes in his books, quote, there is no threat, repeat after me, there is no threat, end quote. It's a kind of corrosive poison, if you like, that's seeping into much wider sections of liberal left opinion.
They need to go to our country, to Iraq, and need to see the situation and stop plugging sentences from books, from grand theories, and try to impose them on our country. Stop being cultural imperialists. Give us a solidarity, give us a support. We are the same people who fought Saddam Hussein. We are the same people who are now fighting for democracy, for social justice, for equality. We are the same people who haven't changed. We're still wearing the same clothes. Support us while there is a chance. Stop supporting these extremists and fundamentalists who will not bring only chaos into Iraq, but in the future they will haunt you because, they are not your friend, they are your enemy.
The idea that we are somehow to blame for the terror that sits itself down on our buses and trains and destroys our relatives and our peace isn't just wrong, it's degenerate.
We are at war and I'm a soldier. Now you too will taste the reality of this situation.
It's a sign of the ignorance that there is about what exactly Al-Qaeda, the sectarians who are murdering Muslims now in Iraq, those who never want to see a stable relationship between Palestine and Israel, what they actually believe. I mean, they believe that infidels should be killed. It's as simple as that.
I'm in the business of celebrating creativity and the creation of life. And I believe that we should all be engaged in living life in a life-giving way for ourselves and for others. I think for those people that can't find a life to live, I think there's a great sadness, a great tragedy. But if their only redress is to strap a bomb to their back and go into a random group of people to make the point that their life is all wrong at some level, then the whole world has gone badly wrong.
It's the equivalent of saying that the racist murderer is somehow to be understood because we have brutally forced him into a multicultural society, or that the husband who beats his wife into a pulp is somehow the inevitable victim of our modern sexual mores. How dare anyone blame those who suffer for what's done to them?
I feel that the day that we find that in any way acceptable or understandable is really the beginning of the end of humanity.
Coming up next on 5, the diet doctors tackle a weighty problem in just a moment.